Joining us now is criminal defense attorney Heather Hansen and former federal prosecutor Neama Rahmani. Welcome, both of you. Thanks so much for being here. Nice to see you again. We will get to the Menendez brothers in just a moment. Neama, let me start with you. An online crowdfund supporting Mangione hit the $500,000 mark. That target has been moved again to $1 million. How is this money going to play into his defense in these cases as they move forward?
Well, it looms large. We're talking about $500,000, and like you said, I think that number is only going to increase. Yeah. There was a significant donation just today when Karen Friedman Agnifilo talked about the death penalty being on the table. Look, we have cases where we have accused here and convicted murderers probably having the most popularity I've ever seen. And not because of who they are, it's because of who their victims were. Obviously, we have Jose Menendez we'll talk about, but you have a United Healthcare CEO, and now you have someone who's admittedly good looking, he's smart, he has money, and because of who he targeted, I expect that support to continue. And the possibility of jury nullification in this case looms larger than I've ever seen because of the incredible, overwhelming popularity that we saw in that courtroom today.
I have to say, I've been at cases where Mangione is coming to court or going to court, and the fanfare around this man, I've never seen anything like this. Heather, it also shows how widely known Mangione's case is, and frankly, how popular he is. To Neema's point, how difficult is it going to be to actually get an impartial jury in these trials?
You know, I think that we see a lot of those people outside the courtroom, but in truth, the majority of people feel pretty strongly that this case is very terrible and something that needs to be punished appropriately. Jury selection is a very complicated process, and it's a process where people really take their oath seriously. The lawyers take their oath seriously to get good jurors. The judge helps with that process, and I have confidence in the process. I do believe that the majority of jurors, if not all of them, will feel very strongly that they want to fulfill their oath and only listen to the evidence that they hear in the courtroom, not the things that they've heard in the media in the years preceding the trial.
All right, let's move on to the Menendez brothers. Neema, today, LA District Attorney Nathan Hochman said he does not support overturning the murder conviction for the brothers. He added that new evidence presented did not meet standards for a new trial. You and I have talked about this case specifically. What was the DA's office looking for when it comes to evidence?
Well, they were looking for new evidence and something that would have changed the outcome of the new trial. That's prejudice. So, and Nathan Hochman talked about the two key pieces of evidence cited by the defense. The first is the letter that Eric wrote to his cousin. And here's what Nathan said. I'm calling him Nathan because I used to work with him. He said that the letter was not credible because it wasn't authenticated. And importantly, the defense knew about it both at least as early as 2015 when there was a Barbara Walters interview. So it's too late to bring this up. And the fact that Eric testified during the trial and his cousin testified in the trial, this is all going to be cumulative, so it wouldn't have changed anything. And the second piece of evidence, that Roy Rossello declaration, that came out in 2022. So Nathan was saying, how would that affect what the brothers were thinking in 1989 when they shot their parents? And he cited the direct statements of their own lawyer that being sexually abused is not a license to kill, not an excuse. So all in all, I think the right decision on habeas there.
And Heather, Hochman is rejecting the petition. He also added it will ultimately be left in the hands of the court. So despite today's setback, is there still a chance the brothers could go free?
Yeah, there's two chances, really. The first chance, and I think the more likely chance, is the resentencing hearing in March that had been put off because of the fires. In March, the judge in the court will decide whether, and the DA will decide, rather, whether or not to pursue a resentencing. If they do, the brothers both would be eligible for parole. And that decision, Hina, is based on things like their rehabilitation, the way that they've been while they've been in prison. And to everyone's word, they have been model prisoners. They have done all kinds of things for the prison, planted trees, brought in dogs. So that is the strongest chance probably that they have of freedom. And then there's also clemency. They have applied for clemency with Gavin Newsom. That's another opportunity that the brothers may have. But I think that resentencing hearing in March is probably the most likely.
Neema, do you agree?
I do agree it's more likely, but I think reading the tea leaves, I think Hochman's going to oppose the resentencing, and this is why. He talked about the brothers lying consistently, talking about how their parents were killed by the mob. He talked about how there was a fake rape allegation, and really, you know, just his tone and going through the evidence in the case, this did not strike me as a prosecutor that believed that these two were rehabilitated. Even when he was asked and pressed by the media today during the press conference if he believed that they were sexually abused, and a lot of people, even myself, I do believe that they were sexually abused, he didn't think it mattered. It would have changed the outcome of the trial. And he even said it wouldn't change my decision if I spoke to Erica Lau directly, which I hadn't. So this didn't sound like someone that really believed that the brothers had been rehabilitated.
And a complete turnaround. Heather, do you want to say something quickly?
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's correct. The standard, though, is really what has happened in trial. Also, Mark Garagos, who is one of their attorneys, seems pretty confident that things are going to change in March. He was recently on a podcast just this week about it. So I do think that that standard is an important point.
Heather Hansen, Neama Rahmani, always appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Have a good night.
You as well. Coming up, Trump's former CDC director, Robert Redfield, out with a